So we've talked about chemical and physical properties so far and physical changes, so now we're going to talk about chemical changes. So a chemical change happens when you have one or more substances that are changed into a completely different substance that have new and different properties. So this is different from our physical changes before that we said they may have changed their appearance, but it's still going to be the same substance. It's still the same compound. So for example, if you crumple a piece of foil, it's still foil. If water freezes into ice, it looks different and it feels different, but it's still water. So now we're going to have a completely different compound when we have a chemical change. Also remember when we talked about chemical properties that the properties of a chemical property of an object is describing its ability to react and have a chemical change. So we talked about reactivity. Flammability is its ability to catch on fire and change. Toxicity is the ability to be toxic and its ability to react. So this is those properties are going to tell us what chemical changes occur and don't occur for that substance. So a couple examples of chemical changes, and there's tons of them out there. One would be milk turning sour. Milk, as it goes bad, it ferments, it gets gross, but it's changing into a completely different substance. When metal rusts, it is changing the appearance, but it is also changing that iron is reacting with that water and it's oxidizing and it's changing into a completely different compound. It's not staying just iron. So, anything from baking a cake to when you mix baking soda and vinegar, they're all examples of chemical changes when you have them react together like that. And these aren't easily reversed. So a lot of physical changes that we have can be reversed fairly easily. You crumple a piece of foil, you can get it back pretty straight. If you freeze water, you can melt it back to water. Now, not all of them are easy to do, but it's not a permanent thing. Whereas chemical changes, it takes a lot more complicated of a process to reverse it back to before when you had the original products. These are some signs that a chemical change has happened. So this is evidence that a chemical change could have happened. It is not 100% foolproof. Just because you see these signs does not 100% mean that you have had a chemical change occur. But there's a good chance that if you are seeing these, that one has happened. So bubbles, if you have gas production from bubbles, that's a chance that there's been a chemical reaction. If there's a new odor, a lot of time that's a sign of a chemical reaction happening. Color change. This is different than with a physical change. You could just paint something and change color. This is when things actually react and they change color. There's a good chance of a chemical change happening. Any kind of gas formation being given off, so whether it's in the form of bubbles or they're not always, if there's no liquid involved, it may just be given off, but that's a sign of a chemical change. Production of heat is a big one, or maybe it even gets colder. We're going to talk about different reactions that make the surroundings hotter, some make the surroundings colder. Fizzing and foaming, and also if you have any kind of sound or light given off. So that's different types of energy, but like an explosion gives off sound and light, that definitely occurs because of a chemical change happening. So again, these are signs that a chemical change could have happened, but they're more than likely, but it's not 100%. So just because you see one of these, you got to make sure you're looking at all the factors before you decide something has happened. So again, just to recap the difference between the physical and chemical changes, the main difference is that in a physical change, your substance is staying the same. The molecules are not changing, whereas in a chemical change, they're changing to a whole new substance. And also that our physical changes are a lot more easily reversed than our chemical changes. You can't go back to those starting products near as easily with our chemical changes.